Let's do it. Another edition here of Goz on the Go. All the sports talk you need from the week in less than 40 minutes. Before we get into it, we got to tell you about the people that make the show possible, like Mohawk Honda. A little programming note here. We've been telling you that our live show was scheduled for Thursday, September 15th. That is changing. Our new live show at Mohawk Honda in Glenville now set for Thursday, September 22nd. So mark that on your calendars. Thursday, September 22nd, the new live show update for Mohawk Honda. Now, if you haven't heard about Mohawk Honda, where have you been? Mohawk Honda has been with us here on Guys of the Media since day one. We're so proud to have them as a partner here where you can find your new vehicle. The supply chain continues to change. And guys, we've been telling you spring, summer long to take advantage of the great deals going on, the prices, people that you can work with during the car buying experience that you can trust. All those things remain the same as we head into the fall. Mohawk Honda is the place for you. If you're getting ready for those tailgates this upcoming fall, if you're taking a road trip to see the big game and more, have a vehicle that you can trust and people that you want on your side. Shout out to Cam McKenna, Brian McKenna, John and Service, Lindsey Harrington. You know all the names, Greg Johnson and more. Nick and Nate working with us to make sure those live shows happen and more. It's Mohawk Honda. Check them out on Facebook, social media, in their store in Glenville, Mohawk Honda, where they always go out of their way to please you. And our friends over at Lily and David Fine Jewelers. Guys, you got football on the way. We'll be talking a lot of pro football in this episode, a lot of college football in this episode, big AEW shows coming to Albany. If you want to spend time doing things that you love, make sure you take care of the person that you love. That's your wife, your fiance, maybe your girlfriend too, depending on how far that relationship's going. Well, the best way to do it is to find out something that fits her style, her fashion, and more. It's Lily and David Fine Jewelers, Route 50, Shops of Wilton. I know from experience, you've heard my story before, walking in sweat and nervous, not knowing exactly what to do when it came to engagement rings. But luckily, I had Alyssa on my side and David on my side and the whole family over at Lily and David Fine Jewelers. That's right. Call them family because it's a family-owned and operated business, and they're with you for those big events in your life. The engagement, wedding day, birthdays, anniversaries, celebrating the big events and more can all happen at Lily and David Fine Jewelers. Make sure to check them out at Route 50, the Shops of Wilton. Facebook as well, another great spot that's active on social media, Lily and David Fine Jewelers on Facebook. Search that so you can follow their great selection and more. It's Lily and David Fine Jewelers. And when you stop in, tell me you heard about Goz's story from right here on Goz on the Go. All right, let's talk some football. We had a packed week. September is here. Let's talk about all the great action going on. The New York teams all get love here on this NFL preview, plus the long nationwide, we'll call it, league-wide preview as well for predictions for playoff teams and postseason. But the New York Jets are leading this thing off. I feel like every time I do a Jets segment, I do the Jets, Jets. I thought, okay, I just did it anyways. We're going to leave that in. So the Jets announced today that quarterback Zach Wilson will not be ready for the opening game against the Baltimore Ravens. Coach Robert Saleh announced that he's hopefully going to be ready against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is in about a month, week 4. What the hell happened? What happened? I saw Brandon Tierney going crazy on Twitter. Jake Asman, Ryan McCarthy, all Jet fans, Nick in Syracuse. I got to make sure I give Rigney love. All the Jet fans thought the same thing. Typical Jets. What the hell happened? Where did the injury go? Did he just all of a sudden have a bad reaction? Did he just lie for the last month? Did he finally confess he was never ready? I totally get the frustration from Jet fans all of a sudden. But this has been happening in the NFL and more so Major League Baseball for a long time. We've told you before, Aaron Boone is the king of lying about injuries in New York. God, in 2019, 2018, the Judge stuff was constant. I never believed anything Aaron Judge said. Well, because of Aaron Boone. Of course, Judge wanted to get back on the field, but Aaron versus Aaron, it was hard to keep them all going and figuring out what the hell was happening. Now Robert Saleh is taking a page out of his book. From a month to maybe he plays week 1. So it's hard to figure this one out, right? Because it's medical information. In comparison to the college game, they don't have to release anything really if they don't want to. Hell, if you want to talk about hockey, you can just talk about lower body injury. You don't even know what body part's injured. So, weeks ago, earlier this summer, we talked about the impact of Zach Wilson, how many wins and losses it's really going to have, and it's going to derail the season. I'll stick by that take that I had earlier this summer. Now we move into the fall. I'm not that concerned. Joe Flacco is Super Bowl MVP quarterback. An elite quarterback. That's right, for your Barstool fans and PFT fans. The arm is still one of the great arms in football, truly, of the last 15 years. And he gets a Raven franchise that used to be Joe Cool, right? Joe Swagger. He had confidence, all that stuff. I feel old that Joe Flacco was a quarterback back when I was in college, and here we are now, and Flacco's still slinging the rock. So, yeah, good for Joe Flacco. Jet fans, how do you feel? I mean, do you think Zach Wilson was going to lock you in at 4-0? Did you feel confident enough in the starter from BYU that he was going to be the future? I think there was more of a want Zach Wilson to be the future, want a young quarterback to be the franchise. Hell, you've wanted that from Sam Darnold to Mark Sanchez and more. But you're going to have to wait. I wish I could sit here and give you more information that Wilson's injury was far worse than it was ever led on to be. Robert Saleh just outsmarted Baltimore, but he's going up against John Harbaugh, one of the best coaches in the NFL. We all saw the injury. Oh, okay. Still could be a close game, but for Jet fans, I feel for you because that feels so Jets. The expectations are up. The excitement is there. The moves are made. You saw the roster get built. Joe Douglas has 8 or 9 guys get claimed more than anybody in the NFL in the last 10 to 15 years, post 53, because of how good of a job they did building that roster. And now you get Baltimore week 1 with a backup quarterback. Fear not, Jet fans. Although frustrating, you might find yourself more competitive in this game than we realize. It's a little tease for later on. Hey. I'm a little disappointed. I'll tell my sister too. We didn't get some shout love at the wedding? No Bills Mafia love at the wedding? That is a classic upstate New York song at weddings. The Bills Mafia. Bills fans, how you feeling? A few hours away from kickoff between the Bills and the Rams Thursday night preseason. You want to talk about the expectations through the roof out in Western New York. Our guy Braden Wilson joined us on Getting There with Goz, and he talked about how Bills fans now feel like it's the world crumbling if they don't win a game. And it was so different, 5, 6, 7 years ago when the drought was still intact and it was same old Bills, same old story. The world has changed at the spot where buffalo wings are king and jumping through tables are king. Bills Mafia. So the expectations are huge. I love the graphic my pal Chet Davis over at CBS 6 sent over about 6 NFL Network analysts picking the Buffalo Bills to win the Super Bowl. My guy Levack picked the Buffalo Bills to win the Super Bowl over the Dallas Cowboys. Everybody is on the Bills bandwagon for this to be the year that Buffalo finally gets it done. People want to see Buffalo fans partying on the 16th hole out in Arizona this February. Now, I don't want to use the next couple of minutes to trash Buffalo, but let's just offer up an alternative opinion. Because I did not pick Buffalo to win this year's Super Bowl. And here's my only concern about the Bills. And this might say I'm lame, boo, guys. It hasn't been proven yet. That's it. Like when I like to make picks, I like to see teams that have gone there before, whether it be a coach, whether it be a quarterback, whether it be a franchise. And it's been 30 years plus since Buffalo has been to the Super Bowl. And I know the players change and ages change and everything else, but that's a lot of faith in Sean McDermott, who has not played or gone to a Super Bowl yet as a head coach. That's a lot of faith in Josh Allen, who just 2 seasons ago, I know he's talked about as one of the best players in the NFL. The NFL Network list had him far 13th, 11, knock it off. Top 5 quarterback in the NFL, and he's proven that. And so many Bills fans didn't want him on draft day, but Allen's proved it. Stephon Diggs is a top 6 wide receiver in the league. You know how good the roster is. I just look at what's happened for Buffalo over the past few seasons and think, how much do we start looking and saying they've got to make the plays to step up? The 13 seconds game will live in infamy now. The past playoff loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. That's the team they have to beat. But let's get perspective here, right? In 2020, going into 2021, you've heard it right here on Goz on the Go in the past. That Buffalo team, from the moment they lost to the Chiefs, rather than going after a running back in the 2021 NFL draft, they said, we have one goal, and that's to beat Kansas City. In similar fashion to the NBA a few years ago when the Rockets built their roster to beat Golden State, they had one goal in mind: beat Golden State. And when push came to shove in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals, Houston couldn't get it done. And when push came to shove for Buffalo, they couldn't get it done. That's it. Like, they got to prove to me that they're the best team in the AFC. And that's not a harsh criticism. It's a fair criticism. And here's a pick that I won't get to later on, but we'll say it now. I don't think Kansas City is making the playoffs anyways. Go look at the first 9 weeks of Kansas City's schedule. I know Buffalo fans looked at Kansas City as the biggest target to knock out of the AFC, and rightfully so. The Chiefs have gone their 6 consecutive seasons to the title game, which saying that stat out loud is wild. But Kansas City is stacked up against tough competition, not just in their division, but that schedule, and without their top wide receiver and Tyreek Hill and a running game that's never proven itself to be good enough. So Buffalo, here's the compliment we'll end with you on this. The biggest competition in the AFC is you. Can you make the plays? Can you step up? Can Josh Allen not be a turnover machine like he was early in his career? Can the running backs step up and make the plays? It's on you, Buffalo. That's it. Make the play. End the drought. Make this your season. But Bill fan, I'm not as confident as national and local media are about your Super Bowl run this year. Giants fans, I still got love for you. I know on our visual sign we got the NFL logo up there. We got love for you. I'm just not going to give you guys as much love as the Jets and the Bills in a whole segment on this. We're going to combine our NFL picks with the Giants talk. Well, the Giants will lead off first. Here's the thing with the New York Giants. I loved this. We talked about this on Tuesday on Levack and Goz show if you missed it about Daniel Jones. And Levack and I totally disagree on this. I'd love to hear your take on social media at Tom Goz, TOMGOZZ on Twitter, Goz at Godzilla Media, email, Facebook, Instagram, bunch of different spots you can find me. The question has been posed, is it a make or break season for Daniel Jones in New York? Year 5 of the contract, options not been picked up. The answer is no. It's not a make or break season because it's already been decided. It's broken. It's done. It's over. It's toast, lame duck, whatever term you want to use. Daniel Jones is not going to be back to the Giants in 2023. A lot of reasons to that. One, he should have never, ever been picked in that spot. It was a mistake when it happened, and people wanted to be contrarian and just argue that Daniel Jones can make it work and happen, and Giants fans needed to root for him because he's the quarterback for their team. They're stuck for him. Some people, in some ways, embraced him as an underdog because he got so trashed on draft day. He never should have been there. Never should have been the pick. Was never a top 5 quarterback in the ACC. Never was going to happen. So that's why, even saying that, I feel like I'm being too harsh on him, but he was put in a scenario where he never really should have been in as a franchise starting quarterback. Never. So Joe Shane walked in and says, okay, I'm the GM year 1. I got to clean up Gettleman's mess. Brian Daboll walks in and says, I got to clean up Joe Judge's mess. This is not the guy they want. I wouldn't be shocked if halfway through the season, Tyrod, a.k.a. Tyrod Taylor, is playing quarterback for the Giants. And that Big Blue has an eye on C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Jake Hayner, Jimmy Garoppolo. There's a bunch of different options that are going to be out there for the New York Giants next offseason. So they want to still stay with Daniel Jones. Why? Like, Daniel Jones could go out this season and throw for 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, keep New York in the playoff hunt. I still don't believe he'd be back for New York. 18 million, 20 million, 22 million. So the Giants, if they're good, they're just going to give up the opportunity to go get improvement at the quarterback position. After 5 seasons with Daniel Jones, and you look at the numbers, they've been one of the worst teams in the NFL since he's been a starting quarterback. But they want to bring him back. The same franchise that thought Geno Smith was a better answer than Eli Manning, although Eli was not good in the end. But they thought that was a better move. The same franchise that had fans screaming that Davis Webb was the future. God, that's the worst take I've seen and heard in Albany over the last 5 years involving New York fans, is the Davis Webb cult. Ugh. Now you're going to do it again. With Daniel Jones. Okay. Not going to happen. All right, let's get off the Daniel Jones stuff because it's going to drive me insane. Let's talk about the NFL overall for a season. So you heard some of my hot takes just a few minutes ago. I got the Kansas City Chiefs not making the playoffs. The schedule's too tough. The division's too tough. The record's not going to work out. Here's what my playoff teams look like in no particular order. I didn't make a graphic for this. Just try to remember it. Write it down. Hit the replay button. The 15-second back pedal on our audio sign. AFC looks like this. AFC East champion Bills, AFC North, I have the Ravens. AFC South, I have the Colts. AFC West, I have the Raiders. For the other three playoff teams, in the South, I have the Titans. In the AFC West, I have the Chargers. And the final playoff spot will come down between the Bengals and the Patriots. Christmas Eve, those two teams play. Whoever wins that game on Christmas Eve will be the 7th playoff team, even though I think they stink. Even though last year I took the under on win total for the New England Patriots. We've talked about it, about proving yourself, getting the job done, being in contention. I'm not picking against New England. Not doing it. So New England would be my 7th playoff team. So there it is. On the NFC side, we flip it over. I've got the Eagles out of the NFC East. I've got the Vikings and Packers both as playoff teams, but I'll take Green Bay as the division winner. I'll take my Bucks coming out of the South. I'll take the Rams and 49ers out of the West. So then it gets tough, right? My team that would go with, I think, the biggest surprise of any playoff team this season would be the Carolina Panthers. Baker Mayfield now the quarterback for the Panthers. An easier schedule. The NFC South is a mess. Dallas, I don't believe it anymore with Mike McCarthy. Their schedule looks tough, and McCarthy might blow that roster. And back to our theme, prove it for me. Arizona and Cliff Kingsbury, Kyler Murray, he got paid. That's a whole mess out there. And DeAndre Hopkins out for the early part of the season. I don't believe in any of those other teams. Carolina is my team to come out of the NFC. Conference championship games. I like the Eagles and the Bucks. Philadelphia, that roster. Look at that top to bottom, the top 53. Where's the weakness? Seriously, where someone's going to point to Jalen Hurts and say Jalen Hurts is the weakness. That's a fair take, but Hurts put up numbers. Not passing, but he's a starting quarterback in Alabama as a freshman. He's got to be able to figure this thing out. I like Philadelphia versus Tampa. On the AFC side, I like Baltimore versus Buffalo. Everybody's going to think, just like last season, that it's going to be a Niners-Chiefs rematch in the Super Bowl, and the two teams that most people thought would win go down, and that's what happens here. It could be a Brady-Buffalo Super Bowl so the Bills can get revenge. Instead, it's Baltimore versus Philadelphia out in the desert. And John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson in a contract season, a team that was crushed with injuries last season, they lift up the Lombardi and win the Super Bowl. I love the Baltimore Ravens to do it over the Philadelphia Eagles. That is my Super Bowl pick. 2 years ago, I got it right. Last season, not right, but that's Baltimore, my Super Bowl champion. Bobby Trossett's loving the pick. Shout out to Bobby, man, doing a great job for the Ravens Vault. Let us know your Super Bowl picks below on YouTube and our audio side. Good news, bad news if you're a UAlbany football fan. Bad news, we'll start with that, is your team suffered the worst loss in the history of the program against the Baylor Bears out in Waco, Texas. Absolutely got smoked. It was never really a game. So that's the bad news. Here's the good news. Even though UAlbany is 0-1 this season, they return to the Capital Region for their first home game of the season as they'll take on New Hampshire. And promise, I'm telling you this, if you go to the game, you will be pleasantly surprised by the crowd, because this has happened over the last few seasons, not counting the COVID years, that first home game of the season, credit to Mark Benson, Greg Cattus, and everybody, they put it at night at 7 o'clock. It's the most packed game of the season. The pink game's fun. It's cool. It's awesome stuff. Lizzie Hunter does a great job with all that. But game one, home game one, I don't know what they do differently. I really don't. And I've covered the team, what they do different for that first home game. But the burn is packed. The crowd is awesome. It's going to be shared on social media. I'm not sure if it's something as simple as the students are back and they're looking for something to do on campus, or if they give away free ticket. I don't know what they do for the first home game, but it's awesome. So I would predict UAlbany to win that game, and I'll save that pick for anybody who wants it. UAlbany beats New Hampshire Saturday night at Casey Stadium because the crowd is going to be into the game. Now, I bring up the crowd and everything else, and I know that's been a touchy subject in the Capital Region about when you talk about attendance at events and everything else, but UAlbany, whatever you do for game one, and I know you don't need to hear it from me because you see the results too, figure that out and bottle it up for the other ones. I know you'd love 7 o'clock kickoffs every home game. That's probably simple and easy. Maybe that's just the fact of what it is, that it's a night crowd, you get a little bit more attendance, but that's a great crowd. So there you go. You want support, you want good news, you want all that stuff for UAlbany football, and we'll keep it short and sweet. You got smoked week 1. You're going to have a great turnout for week 2. You're back in front of your home fans. If you lose that game, no pressure, right? Like if you lose that game, the whole season can change. It's not hyperbole. It's not over-exaggerating. If you lose to New Hampshire and you move to 0-2, where's the next win? Fordham. It's a good program. And I know they're going through transitions. They've had a head coaching change and everything else, but they still pump out really good city kids down, right? You get recruits. Central Connecticut State just a few seasons ago was a playoff team. Monmouth, Hampton, Villanova, Stony Brook, Elon, Maine, Rhode Island. There it is. Just ripped through the schedule. Went full Francesca for you right there. Who are you going to be favored against? Depends on your results early in the season. So that's my take for you all. Great turnout. Looking forward to that. You got to get that win, though, in front of your home fans. Still stick by that college football fans are the most insane, irrational, overly optimistic sports fan bases in the country, from the tailgates to the chants to the phone calls. College football fans are crazy. Now, I say all that realizing that I'm about to tell you that Syracuse is going to the Orange Bowl. All right, maybe not that quick, but still, I get why so many people are so passionate about their schools and their local teams, because when you get a big win and you've got to wait a whole week, and all of a sudden you think, like, how far can this team go? How good can they be? They beat Louisville. They smoked the Louisville Cardinals. Dino Babers, fantastic job coaching that team. There's been some plays they've been showing that's getting a lot of love in the Central New York area of post route they run that 2 seasons in a row they beat him for touchdowns on, and Garrett Williams comes all the way across the field, picks it off, and everyone said, we watched that play constantly on film. We were refusing to let them score on that play and they make a pick. I know Elmore gets hurt. Maybe he's coming back for his 7th season like Tommy Boy. Doctors do. He's a nice guy, though, I assume, right? 7 years. Don't play 7 years of college football. They get the win. They smoke Louisville, a team that has been crushing them for about a decade. And Sean Tucker, man, can we give him the nickname The Truth? He feels like Paul Pierce. I'm not a Paul Pierce fan, but the nickname fits him so perfect. When he gets the football, he makes people miss. There were plays, I was in attendance for that game, where I'm looking at people around me thinking, did you just see that play? Hit 3 guys around him, he scores a touchdown. He made another guy miss. He's fast. He hits the hole hard. He's a good enough athlete. He's considered one of the top running backs in the country. Once he go out and do game 1, goes 98 on the ground and over 100 through the air. Yeah, he is the truth. He is that good. And Garrett Schrader, the beard's trimmed up a little bit, and the Pro Football Focus people were all about Garrett Schrader. How about not just the #1 grade of any quarterback in the country against the blitz? The #1 quarterback, statistically ranked by Pro Football Focus, the best game of any quarterback was Garrett Schrader at Syracuse. Hell of a week 1 for the Orange. Now I do what I just did for UAlbany. Let's do another scheduled dance here. They got UConn Saturday. They stink. I swear to God, there's an article up on ESPN about Jim Mora Jr. that says, even losing feels like winning. That sums up UConn football right now, because they're still losing games, but they're staying close. And they have a full article about that, about the Huskies. Let's say the Orange get by them. Purdue at home the following week. Virginia, Wagner. Then you get in that gauntlet of the schedule. But Syracuse football needed that win against Louisville to have a realistic chance to get 6 wins. That's very realistic. Sean Tucker needs to have big games against big competition to be talked about as best one of the running backs in the country. But he performs, man. A young Frank Gore. He's that dude. What a great start for the Orange. Look, I'm not giving up on the Syracuse talk quite yet, but I think it's important to note this in the national football college level week 1 action that the ACC stinks. Holy hell, is the conference terrible. I got to come on here and defend ACC football and tell you that it should be considered one of the top in the country and blah, blah, blah. Florida State was pretty good. Mike Norvell's figuring it out. Jared Verse, former UAlbany kid, had a standout game and he spotlighted. Awesome, fantastic. So if it's not Syracuse considered the team that played the best, I got to give it up to the Seminoles. And Travis, their quarterback, looks like a different kid. Where the hell did he come from? NC State should have gotten beat by East Carolina. We've seen teams in college football struggle early in the season and bounce back, but we've also seen teams like North Carolina, who should have lost to App State in 2021, have high hopes and never be the team that they hit. Miami, hard to grade now. They played basically an FCS squad in Bethune, not known as Cookman anymore. Weird. Okay. Pittsburgh and West Virginia, a battle for the backyard brawl, which is a lot of fun to watch, but underachieving for me for the Panthers. They got a lot more new faces than we realized involved with the Panthers. And who else? Virginia Tech got beat by Old Dominion. Georgia Tech got smoked. We all knew they were going to suck. They looked terrible against Clemson, even though Clemson covered against the Yellow Jackets. DJ Ungalalele doesn't know how to throw the football all of a sudden. Wake Forest came Sam Hartman back. Wake Forest is one of the best stories of college football last season. So is it Wake? BC? Lua? They stink. The conference is terrible. That's one of my biggest storylines of week one. ACC football. I know they pump out 10 bowl-eligible teams every season, but realistically, you could see a huge shakeup. That's another place I'd like to see divisions get eliminated. Big 12's doing it. Pac-12's doing it. Get rid of the divisions in the ACC, man. Let's see the top two teams battle it out. Or the teams that shouldn't be in the ACC title game not be there. Also, the SEC is really good. Careful. Don't drive off the road. Don't get burned by that hot take. 14-1. 14-1 was their record in opening week. The only loss came in that LSU-Florida State game, and the Tigers had a chance there. Even though Brian Kelly got... You know what? I was going to talk about the SEC. We'll get to them in a second. You already know how good they are. Let's sit on Brian Kelly for a second. We'll call a little audible here, a little Omaha. Oh, I can't wait for them to go 7-5 forever. It's my favorite. It is my hatred for LSU of what they did to Ed Orgeron, what they did to Les Miles after national championship seasons. I want them to lose every game. I want them to become the modern-day Nebraska. Sorry, Sean Martin again. I want to do one more rant on LSU. The fact that that reporter walked in and said to Brian Kelly in the press conference, I'll show up on time when you start to win, talks about the culture of that city, irrational nut jobs. All of them. So I swear, if they go 7-5 or 6-6, there's going to be people calling for Brian Kelly to get fired at LSU. LSU won national championships, and they said, that wasn't good enough because he didn't do it the next season, because we weren't Bama, because we weren't the top. Good. Be Nebraska in 7-5 forever. See you never. Enjoy Oklahoma and Texas in the SEC coming up. All right, now I'm done with the LSU roasting. They're great. Alabama's great. Georgia's great. Arkansas looked good. Florida looked good. Tennessee, they're so much better than everybody else. And I hate that I have to have that take. I want parity. I want different teams. I would love a March Madness feel, which I'm a fan of this 12-team expanded college football playoff. I like it. I think it's great for the sport. I'd spend more time on it, but there's the answer. If I'm rooting for parity, if I'm rooting for more teams that have success to win a championship, let's see more teams in the action, and too much money's left on the table, but people got to start proving they're better than the SEC. We found out year after year what the college football playoff has really done is proven that the SEC is better than everybody else. And I want to have the take that Florida State won a championship. Yeah, they needed a game-winning field goal. A game-winning touchdown from Calvin Benjamin and Jameis Winston. That Zeke Elliott Ohio State team had a third-string quarterback, and they were the fourth seed in that thing. Anybody else that's jumping out to you that was a great national champion? Pac-12? Nah. Clemson? Yeah. They got theirs. Credit to Deshaun Watson and company. But that's 3. And some of those championship games, they got smoked. While the other time, the Clemson team smoked Bama. So that was my 2 biggest takeaways from the early week 1 action. The SEC is really good. The ACC is terrible. And hopefully we got some more upsets on the way and some teams start to break out, because not as much as I thought. There wasn't a breakout star player quite yet. Luckily, we got a lot more football coming up. Flash at the Castle was awesome. Another fantastic performance by the WWE. Some fun stuff in that one. The Sheamus versus Gunther match is one of the top 5 matches in wrestling period of the year. Great match. Loved it. McIntyre and Reigns. There's a little chef's kiss there for you. Fantastic main event. Would have liked to see McIntyre win it, but Reigns stays the champion. Tyson Fury comes out. By the way, I know we don't have time for the boxing talk on this one, but Fury calling out Joshua. Okay, I see you, Tyson Fury. I see you doing your thing. It was a little awkward. Like, it's weird to celebrate it with the fellow Irishman, Englishman, Wales guy. When you lost, it felt a little Lex Luger SummerSlam when you won by a countout, but okay. That was probably the only part I would change to the whole pay-per-view. Everything else was fantastic. The crowd was into it. Let's do some more UK shows. They still love Bayley. The Bayley chants going on. Love it from the WWE. Monday Night Raw, the Dexter Lumis stuff, and the stuff happened in the background. Like, every week I'm going to come up, keep telling you, WWE is great. I mean, we trashed it so often. When you're putting out good products, you deserve to get the love. Some good stuff for the WWE. Only maybe criticism I would have right now, the WWE, can we get the belt off of Roman? Not the Universal, WWE, however you want to slice that up. I like the idea of having two champions going. Right? Like, if he's on SmackDown, what's Raw doing? Raw's doing the best he can without a champion. My only criticism of the WWE, maybe get both championships back in play. All right. You know we all want to talk about AEW, though, right? Like, AEW is the one that stole the show this week. I've been looking forward to all week having this conversation about AEW. I love all of it. Oh, I cannot get enough of it. I think it's so great. From the actual pay-per-view itself, solid, no complaints. Wardlow still looks awesome. The MJF, the devil, you didn't know, it doesn't, oh my God, dude, like playing off the Punk promo from Ring of Honor. Fans embraced him in Chicago. Oh, so good, man. Great job by Tony Khan on that. CM Punk, the champion. Then the press conference where he calls out the EVPs, Hangman Page, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega. According to reports, a real-life fight breaks out. Tony Khan comes on just hours ago before this taping, strips him of the title. But there's the key thing right there, right? Just said it was vacated. Never mentioned CM Punk's name. Never mentioned Hangman Page's name when he went through the bracket. Never mentioned the Bucks and Omega. Didn't do it. Did not do it. It has me locked in for this fall. Love it. I can't tell as a grown-ass man what's real, what's not real. Everyone's telling me it's real, maybe it's not. This is the best part about wrestling that's happened over the last year. That dance in the reality era, which I wish that more people would call this era the reality era, because that's what it is. I don't know what's going to happen with CM Punk. I think this is the perfect way. I said this to Trav on Twitter, Trav and Rigney show. It's the perfect way for CM Punk to become a bad guy. He was so beloved. We said it right here on this podcast, and it's one of the coolest moments of wrestling where he finally came back. The crowd loved him, and then a year later, they hate him. When CM Punk comes back, he is going to get booed out of the building as long as it's not Chicago. And that's what you want in wrestling. A true heel. I've said this about MJF, that really a true heel doesn't exist in the sport anymore because of the Stone Cold Steve Austins and Rock, and like the bad guy heel became the NWO, the Shield. These bad guys got to be so good at being bad, it became cool. It's hard for people to hate the bad guy. They're going to hate CM Punk like we've never seen before. And for Tony Khan, he knows how good that is for business. Guess what? Punk already sold the t-shirts. Punk already had the babyface love. Now, if you really want to see somebody get over, you really want to see MJF celebrate with a championship. Hangman Page, criticism, not a fan. Watch his matches past done. I just can't do it. I'm trying to be it's not my thing. Omega and the Bucks' ego was so high they think they don't need Punk. Get them in the ring. Let us figure out what the hell's AEW, Tony Khan. If they're fighting, it's egos. Go make that money. Go make the money, man. Put them in the ring. Make people care about your product. I cannot wait to see the television ratings and the engagement on social media. AEW, you guys are beating the WWE when it comes to wrestling fans' interest. Oh, and by the way, no one's mentioned the MJF contract stuff. That got hidden. It feels like we're getting played like a fiddle, but I'm invested. Albany fans, the fact that AEW is coming next week, enjoy the show, man. It's going to be awesome. Before we get into this week's picks, we got to tell you about John Stone Supply in Troy, a proud sponsor of us here at Godzilla Media. The fall weather is here. Colder weather is on the way. You got to make sure your place is good to go. Your home, your furnace, your boilers, the changes you might need, you got to make sure that's all taken care of before it gets colder and colder throughout the end of 2022. The place to call is Johnstone Supply in Troy, 518-272-5922. Write that down, 518-272-5922. Save it in your phone as furnace fix, boiler issues, home call, even just a simple call to make sure everything's okay. Be like, hey, I heard Goz talking about you guys on the podcast. Just want to make sure my home's updated. Here's some questions I have, and they'll answer the questions for you. George would love to hear from you, man. He's an awesome guy. The last 2 years, I've gotten to know him more and more. Wants to help people across the capital region and upstate New York. If you're listening to this outside of Troy or Glenville or Schenectady, still give them a call. They'll help out your home. Simple, free, and then you can build that relationship. And when you come visit the capital region, head to their spot on 6th Avenue in Troy and get those tools that you need, competitive prices across the board. Something as simple as a ladder, something as simple as those screws, the wrenches, maybe the perfect product that you need. Those guys will explain it to you, man. Johnstone Supply in Troy's got you covered. 6th Avenue in Troy. One more time for that number, 518-272-5922. And make sure to give them a like, a nice message. Leave it to them on Facebook. Johnstone Supply, Troy, NY. Proud sponsors of us here on Godzilla Media. And we always tell you this. If these parlays hit, if you hit a 4-team parlay or a 5-team parlay, all we ask, we don't ask for the love on social media, although it's appreciated if you do that. Leave them a nice comment on social media. Say, hey, made some money thanks to you guys sponsoring these picks. That's always really cool. Johnstone Supply in Troy. All right, let's get to the picks. Leading off with college on this one. By the way, Thursday, we're at Hooters. So if you're listening to this, come join us 6:30 to 8 o'clock. We are at Hooters. You see the nice promo code 518 DraftKings right there. Sign up 5 for $200. Win cash instantly. You got more information coming on Levack and Goz. Use DraftKings, promo code 518. Share it with your fiance, your girlfriend, your cousins, your friends. Grab their phone and sign up for it. Promo code 518. And again, we'll be at Hooters Thursday night, 6:30 to 8, and watching Bills, Rams. We're leading with college picks, 3 college picks. Right now, the record stands. Drum roll, please. 2-2 last week. 1-3 the week before. That is 3-4 on the season. The worst it could be is mediocre. 3 picks for this week. 3 picks. We've got, no, you know what? I want to do 4 picks. We're doing Tennessee minus 5.5 against Pitt. Hendon Hooker, most underrated quarterback in the country. Michigan, Hawaii's getting a lot of love nationally for how big that line is, 51.5. I'm not buying it. I'm still taking Michigan, 51.5. So I've got Tennessee. I've got Michigan. Ball State takes on Western Michigan. Home team getting points. You're going to notice that's a theme of this week's picks. So give me Ball State against Western Michigan. And just for old time's sake, how about an under in Iowa State? 41.5. So recap on our college picks. Under Iowa State, 41.5. Plus 6 for Ball State against Western Michigan. Minus 51.5 for Michigan against Hawaii, and Tennessee minus 5.5 against Pitt. All right, NFL picks. Here's the theme. Take the home team getting points. As Brett Musburger says, nothing's better than that. What's better than that? Nothing. Think about this, especially for survivor pools too. Everybody's going to be picking, oh, the Ravens are going to beat the Jets. Oh, the Niners are going to beat the Bills. Remember this stat. I'm going to focus on that Bears-Niners game in particular. 2021, we all thought the Texans were going to suck. They won in week 1. 2020, we all thought the Jaguars were going to suck. They won outright in week 1, both those teams. So here are my plays. My favorite play of the entire week, I've gone all in on the Bears. I think they're going to suck this season. They're going to be terrible to have the number 1 pick, but I'll take them plus 7 against San Francisco with George Kittle hurt, Trey Lance starting. Give me the Bears, home team getting points. Divisional game, Saints and Falcons. Falcons at home getting points. I'll take the Falcons plus 5.5. Lions, sold out crowd. Biggest crowd non-Thanksgiving in 5 years, plus 4 at home. Give me the Lions. So there's 3 quick ones. I thought about the Vikings, but I don't like that 1.5. That scares me a little bit, so I'm backing off on Minnesota. Give me the Texans, though, plus 7 against the Colts at home. I'll take that as number 4. And I'll round it out with the Seahawks at night. I know they're not in the same division, AFC, NFC. That's changed over the last 15, 20 years. But I'll take the Seahawks at home, 12th man, plus 6.5. So 5 NFL plays for you. You know what? 6. Screw it. We're going with the over in that Carolina-Cleveland game. Over 41.5. So give me Cleveland and Carolina over. Nice. A 6-pack in the NFL. 43 it's now up to. I'll still take it. 43 over Carolina Panthers, and give me with the points the Seahawks, the Texans, the Jets, the Lions, the Bears, the Falcons. Did I just make that 7? One more time. We'll go slower. Falcons, Bears, Lions, Panthers, Browns over. That's 4. Texans is 5. Jets is 6. Seahawks is 7. Oh my God. We opened with 7 plays in week 1. How about that? And we pushed the 40-minute mark. All right. Appreciate you staying with us. 7 picks in the NFL, 4 in college. See you at Hooters. Packed September episode. Talk again next week.